What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Action Show. Today's episode, we'll be talking about a very important question. And this is a question that you might come across. This might be a question that you think about. This might be a question that you consider. And that question is, when do you pivot? So, before we get into the subject for today, I just want to let you guys know that this episode is sponsored by the Imperfect Action Con, live in Los Angeles, August 19th and 20th. You definitely want to make sure that you pull up to this conference. Links will be below. Grab your tickets. And then also, if you are interested in joining our Action Takers community, what you want to do right now is text ACTION to 213-410-4920. That's 213-410-4920 and join the Action Takers content and accountability community. Okay, so today's episode, we're talking about knowing when to pivot and also why knowing when to pivot is important, right? So before we get into that, I'm going to share a link out to our community so they know we are up and popping right now. Good morning to everyone tapping in. Ty, what's going on? I see you. When do we pivot? When do we pivot? Okay, boom. Links going out right now. Boom. Live chat. Okay, cool. So when do we pivot? So this is an interesting question because me and my guy Dion were actually talking about this earlier this morning, and I thought it would be a good subject to share with you guys on the pod. And the question around when you should pivot is really kind of thinking about what your goal is. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is your goal? And is what you're doing in perfect alignment with your goal and where you see yourself going? And if the answer is no, you may need to pivot. If the answer is yes, you may actually be doing what you need to do, but maybe you need to pivot on something. I'll give you guys an example. So let's say that you're working a 9 to 5, right? You're working a 9 to 5. 9 to 5 is cool. You're making good money. The hours are the hours. Like, nice little routine. Things are going well. Chandler, what's up? Things are going well. You know what I'm saying? Steady, making 6 figures or high 5 figures, like whatever it is, right? You know what I mean? Stable, you good. But your heart's not in it. You're not motivated. You don't get excited. And it's really not the thing that you really want to do. However, you're doing it because it's safe and secure. Like, it's almost a guarantee. So then the question becomes, should I pivot from my 9 to 5 and go completely into entrepreneurship? Is now really that time? And that's a question that you're going to have to ask yourself, because you're thinking, okay, maybe I've been in this job long enough. I have a nice little nest egg set up. I got some savings good. You know what I'm saying? I have a little bit of bandwidth to invest in myself right now. You know, I have a little bandwidth to actually take a chance and then go all into the thing that I want to go all in on. That could be a great opportunity to pivot. Or maybe you're currently in entrepreneurship and you're thinking, you know what? I'm doing this clothing thing, but it's just not working out. I've been doing it for a couple of years and I need to do something else. This one's not it. So that might be when you need to pivot. I'll give you guys like real example. So I actually had a clothing company. I've had a clothing company for almost 10 years. So in 2014, that's when my business partner and I separated. That's when I pivoted, right? But I would say the last 2 years, so this is back in 2012, I knew that I should have left. Like, I knew that it felt like it would have been a good time to pivot then, right? But I stayed in it 2 more years. we kind of rode it to the end or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the case may be. And I pivoted from that. But I saw 2 years earlier, 2 years prior, that it would have been a good time for me to actually pivot from that situation. So as soon as you like realize it, you can pivot away. You should pivot away fast. But that wasn't my case. I stayed for extra 2 years. So I wanted to have what seemed like a similar lifestyle that was afforded to me while I had the clothing company. So I pivoted into real estate, and I was, pretty much known as a realtor in the city, buying and selling homes. I was actually excited about it. I was super excited. Like, I love helping people. So I did that for 7, 8 years. Licensed in Massachusetts and then licensed in California. But for me, what I did, the idea that when I was getting paid, I felt like I was getting paid too slow. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like, yeah, okay, cool. The money's good. I can do a deal and get 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. But I just feel like it's coming too slow. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's coming too slow. So the underlining thing for me has always been marketing. Like, I've always had a knack for that. But when I moved to California, I started to just invest in myself more and more, coaches and programs and stuff, right? So once I felt within myself that I needed to like pivot away from real estate, because once I felt like, yo, there's other ways to get paid and there's ways for me to get paid faster, I did not hesitate. Like I pivoted. So I didn't do what I did when I had the clothing company. I didn't wait extra 2 years. I didn't deliberate. I didn't think about it. I didn't pontificate. I acted. I was like, okay, cool. I need to pivot because if I pivot right now, it'll bring me closer to where I want to go, and it's actually in alignment with where I see myself. And doing real estate didn't allow that because when you do real estate, if you're doing residential real estate, you're basically subject to that jurisdiction in which you're licensed. So I was licensed in California, I was licensed in Massachusetts. So technically, I can't practice real estate outside of those states unless I get a new license. And driving back and forth to homes, helping buyers buy, sellers sell, all these type of things, which is great and I enjoy. I just didn't see that for myself in my future. So then I pivoted. And it was a hard pivot. And I was willing to do whatever was necessary for me to get access to the information so I could be successful with the area in which I pivoted to. So that's just something for you guys to think about and consider. Like, is now the perfect time for you to pivot, or have you even thought about pivoting in a career or even in a relationship? Sometimes you got to pivot in these relationships, friendships, or love interest type of relationships. You got to pivot towards or even pivot away. So sometimes pivot isn't always going away. Sometimes you're pivoting towards, like, you might want to get more serious, or you might want to turn it up, or you may want to pivot towards the one and not the many. Like you know what I'm saying? So like those are like, it's like really big to like have those type of conversations with yourself to really give some context around, are these decisions I'm making in alignment with where I see myself? Are they in alignment with where I want to go? Are they in alignment with me being true and me being honest with myself? And that's how I would make that decision. Like, literally, that's how I would do it. So I'm curious. Like, y'all could drop in the chat. Have you thought about pivoting? Have you recently made a hard pivot, or are you considering a pivot? Drop it in the chat and let me know. And like I said, like this, there was something else I wanted to share today, but after talking to Dion this morning, I was like, nah. We gotta talk about this pivoting. Oh, excuse me. We gotta talk about this pivoting. Like major. Because again, you could pivot towards or you could pivot away. And sometimes both of them are positive. Like if you're pivoting away, that could be a great decision for your future. If you're pivoting towards, that can also be a great decision for your future. So it kind of just depends on which way you're moving. Oh, okay, okay. Shout out to B. I see you. Jazz talking about she pivot all the time. I feel you on that, pivoting all the time. Um, but yeah, I mean that's a big thing. Chandra says I am for sure trying to pivot out of my career. That's hard since I spent so much time getting there. Yeah, yeah. You know what? And that comes because sometimes we don't anticipate how it's going to be when we arrive at a place that we're working towards to get to. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Um, like you work so hard to get to a place, and then you get to the place, and it's like not what you thought it would be. And in some cases, we don't even know what we think is going to be because we're just working so hard to get there. I know that's been me. Like I didn't anticipate what it would be like when I was doing real estate. I was just working so hard to get licensed and working so hard to put myself in position to practice. You know what I'm saying? So, I would just keep that in mind. I think that's a big one when it comes to that. But yeah, but you know what? We're all older, we're wiser. We make more and better calculated decisions. So when it comes to pivoting, we're not moving off of like just emotions. We're making calculated decisions that are going to be the best for the direction in which we are moving, and for our futures. So that's a major one right there. Like really thinking about it. So what's actually a great thing is when you're pivoting at this point in your career, you can make decisions that are based upon, okay, cool. I'm gonna set this up. I'm gonna set this up. I'm gonna set this up. Now I'm gonna comfortably move. I'm gonna comfortably move and pivot because you're setting up certain things as going to make it easier for you transitionally to pivot. And then sometimes you need a hard pivot. Sometimes you're like, okay, boom, that's it, done. I ain't doing that no more. I'm all the way over here. And sometimes that needs to happen too. And then sometimes while you're pivoting, you noticing that may affect people around you for the good or for the bad. So that's also just something that you need to consider also. Is this decision going to affect those around me, and how's it going to affect those around me? Is in a positive way, in a negative way, financially, or whatever, emotionally, whatever the case may be. So it's just something for you guys to consider. I knew when Dion and I was speaking about it this morning, I'm like, yo, this is the perfect topic to share today on the podcast. So yeah, just that's just something to think about. When to pivot, how to pivot, if it's time to pivot, what you're pivoting towards, and then also even prior to pivoting, position yourself for a pivot. So basically, removing anything that could be a distraction or anything that could be a limiting belief or anything that could be a deterrent from you moving to where you want to go. So that's today's episode, y'all, on the Imperfect Action Show. Really just going over pivoting. And like I said, the best ways to look at it and when, how to pivot, and just making sure you're in full alignment with where you want to go. So drop a comment below if you guys have any additional questions or any additional thoughts. I really, really appreciate you guys. Links below to grab tickets for the Imperfect Action Con, August 19th and 20th. You definitely don't want to miss that. And yeah, make a hard pivot towards where you want to go in your life, where you want to go in your relationships, where you want to go in your career. Also, share your pivots with friends and family, loved ones, people that support you, because they will help you and make it easier for you to make a strong, comfortable pivot. And that's what we all need. All right. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is Take Action Fridays number 3. So that means that you can come on the show with real life situations. We're gonna work it out. We're gonna talk about it, right? We're gonna get to some solutions. We're gonna help you with some strategy. We're gonna give you some tactfulness that you can apply ASAP, get a result, and then have some success in your business. So make sure if you're looking forward to coming on Take Action Fridays that you show up tomorrow and get this link so you can jump on the screen live. Or if you want to secure a spot, I'll just put it below. Make sure that you send me a DM. It's Brendan Boyd and say, hey, I'm trying to be on the show tomorrow. All right. I'll see you guys later. Have an amazing day. This has been another episode of the Imperfect Action Show.